Hi, everyone, and I want to welcome you to the fourth session of the Student AI Literacy Series. And this time I'm having on a very special guest, Andrew Davies, and I'm going to let him talk about himself in a second. But like I said last week, for those of you who came, I have found myself in, I've used School AI. I've talked a lot about School AI, and I think I didn't know what was happening inside of Magic School. So because I was going to a training this week where teachers were using Magic School at their districts, I reached out to Andrew and said, hey, I'm doing these things in School AI. Could you do that? And can you show me how it would happen in Magic School? And I just was trying to be a good presenter to those teachers. But what happened was Andrew showed me what Magic School, and I'm going to get these, it's going to happen. I'm going to confuse the two. But what Magic School was doing, and I stopped in my tracks. I actually called friends and I was like, hold the phone. I haven't been paying attention enough. And I think they're doing some really good things. And then Andrew told me the story, and I've been watching him also on social media, about his son who also has dyslexia, and the way in which having a chatbot at home that he built, that is something that can, I don't know if that can be done. We can talk about that in a minute, Andrew. Like a parent could, I don't know, we'll figure it out. But like the things that are happening to help him and to level up his learning, like, was everything. So I wanted to make sure that everyone got an opportunity to hear this. And I know many people come to this later. So I'm really excited because you can rewatch this. With the first part, we're going to talk about real classroom proof and the things that Magic School is doing. And the truth is, a chatbot is a chatbot, whether it's School AI or Magic School or Brisk or Toddle, whatever. It's really about the pedagogy behind it. But I do think there's some agency happening at Magic School that I'm not seeing in other places. So that's what I hope to highlight in this first part. And then in the second part, looking at the dyslexia thing. So I'm going to be over on this other screen just for a second, getting these to move. So I'm Holly. We know all of this and that I do these trainings, but I want Andrew, go ahead, and introduce yourself.
Sure. Thank you, Holly. I'm excited to be here with you and have this awesome conversation. So my name is Andrew Davies. I am a former educator. I taught for 15 years. I was a fourth grade teacher, a fifth grade teacher, and then a digital learning coach in Frisco, Texas. After that or during that, I was also doing a lot of social media work myself, where I was just kind of sharing technology tips and tricks with teachers, and then eventually led me to Magic School, where now I lead and run our social media accounts and also create a lot of our forward-facing content. So I'm excited to be here. Oh, and I'm a dad, which is very important to note as well.
And he does a great job at that social media content. I think you are the best. I really love Jessica from Brisk too, but I think you two do some great work. And Charity, who's a friend of mine from Calgary, Alberta, Canada, I'm assuming she's still there. It has to be, yes. But she just mentioned that they're using Magic School. So exciting. She gives you props. So I'm going to just quickly say this about like the real student proof. So just a few weeks ago, I don't remember the date, this came out from Stanford University, looking at all the research that's been done across the last few years and what it's saying about AI in classrooms. And often I don't think they're looking at the same thing. So I found this really interesting because this is exactly what I've kind of been saying. I'm sure Andrew's been saying, everyone's been saying, but it's the pedagogical design that matters more than actually having access to a chatbot. What are you doing with it as a teacher? And the strongest signal is not give students AI from this study. It's give students AI with instructional guardrails, with a purpose, something to level up instruction. And that's what I'm seeing has the biggest impact. And not everyone is really doing that. I hear a lot of chatter around, well, I've been really open with this, but like, well, our school uses Gemini. And so we're just going to create these gems that have guardrails but that the students can use. And it's missing something really important when you do that. Yes, there are guardrails, and you can set them up and say, we're going to look at the pyramids of Giza, and it can only look at the pyramids of Giza. But you're missing, what did the students ask about? You're missing, what thoughts were they showing you? What student thinking do you need to know about here? And so I hurt a little when I hear people saying, well, we're just going to have gems for kids, and they're going to take a screenshot of their conversation, and that's what the teacher will have. I taught 7th grade, and I had 135 kids a day cross my classroom door, whatever. And I could never have looked at all of that. And I just think that is not really intentional and good pedagogy to say that we're going to do that, because I, as a teacher, have to use that data and those insights for my next teacher moves. And so the fact that just putting a kid on a general purpose AI, which some people are saying, well, we just let them use Gemini, that isn't showing the same kind of promise that we see with the thinking impact when we're using a chatbot that has been grounded in some educational, pedagogical guardrails. So having students with the instructional guardrails, instead of just finding a chatbot that kids are going to ask questions at and being like, well, Gemini is safe, isn't what I think we're looking for. So I got to do a keynote for Ontario, Canada, just maybe it was yesterday. Time really flies. And they're using this triangulation of data, kind of look at how are we going to change assessment now that there's AI. And I don't even know if this is because there's AI, but it takes these 3 things into consideration: observations about engagement, observations about the conversations that are having, as well as those conversations. Like, what can a kid say in a conversation that I can listen to and add that to part of this assessment of learning? And it really made me think about an example I gave last week. I gave the example of the 6th grade teacher that I get to work with in New Jersey, who did these 2 things. And she first had the kids go into a chatbot. First, there was a quiz. And as soon as they were done with the quiz, they went in and interviewed the 2 characters in Antigone. And you guys have heard me talk about this if you've been here before. My dog's about to start barking. That'll be great. Anyway, so when she did the quiz, I immediately thought, why wouldn't she want the data for that? Because Andrew had recently showed me that after a quiz, it'll say, here are the things you're not doing well. Here's the things that you might want to do. Hold on. Remedy, stop. Remy. Then I went to her after and I was like, why did you do a quiz and then immediately go in and interview the characters? And she said she was level setting those kids. So like if they didn't understand, it was only like a 3-page reading. If they didn't understand something, that quiz came back with the right answer so that it stopped the misconceptions. Then they were at the same place. They were level setted to the same place where they could then appropriately interview the characters. Once they interviewed the characters, I was watching, she was watching the insights come in, what they were asking, and it was crazy good. And what we need to understand here is that every student got leveled up to the same place before they went into interviewing the characters. And from interviewing the characters, they went into one of those triangulation of data points, a class discussion. So she was getting like the engagement from the chatbot. She was getting this class discussion, and that was all informing her understanding of what they understood about this chapter. So that allowed her to scaffold up. And I think I talked about this last week as well, but she is now going to have them, after reading Antigone, she's going to have them compare and contrast the readings of Martin Luther King Jr. in the Letters from a Birmingham Jail. And both of these are looking at when a law is not just, it's your prerogative maybe to do something about it. because there's laws that are unjust in this land, sometimes you have to fight against those. And both of these two examples are about unjust laws that ask the question, do we go with them or do we fight against those unjust laws? And quite frankly, something really good for an American student to be talking about right now, in my opinion. But so this leveling up in the student proof is in their ability in this listening to the data of that discussion. And so that to me was like real student proof, getting to see how exactly they were able to discuss this. And these are 12-year-olds who are doing 2 readings that are high school and able to do it because the AI chatbot is able to give them the things that they need to be able to get there. That in most cases, and I've said this before, but in most cases, when I would have a question or I wouldn't understand something in class, I would fake work. I didn't want my teacher to know. I didn't want anyone around me to know. So let's say there was something I had to fill out. I'm getting a pin out right now. I would just act like I'm doing it in class because as a dyslexic learner, I didn't want to ask questions. I didn't want anyone to know that I was struggling with this. So I fake worked all the time. And I don't want that for kids. If they can get that instant feedback, then they won't be in a place to have to fake work. Now I'm going to do one more thing and I'm going to give this over to Andrew. But here's another example of something that is pedagogically sound. Science notebooks. I used to do these with my language or my history social studies classes where we would do notebooks and we would put in sketch notes and we would think about things. And in science right now with the NGSS standards, they have anchor phenomenon that the kids have to really base a unit around. And this one has the kids saying, I notice, I wonder. And then after looking at this jar of life in a sealed jar, and I'm way out of my happy place here with science. Not that I don't love it. I just don't know it pedagogically like I do other subjects. But in this one, they're saying, I notice there are plants growing in the jar, all of the things. But on the bottom one, we could go into snorkel. The kid could type in, I notice the plants in the jar, I notice whatever, and then submit that for feedback. And then we get instant feedback. So a kid like me who has dyslexia, who maybe wasn't getting all my thoughts out on paper. Before I go have a discussion with the group about what I saw in the sealed jar, I have now gone through and gotten feedback on what I notice, what I wonder, what I think is happening here before I am asked to go into a group of 3 and have a conversation about this learning. And we often do that where we have kids go into a conversation because we've learned that from Kagan things that like, think, pair, share. Like I think right now I'm going to pair, whatever. And we never give the kids this level setting to get to a place where they can have a deeper conversation in those collaborative groups. And so AI is giving us the ability to be able to do that, to really get at student thinking, and then also give kids who need it the little level setting that they need to be successful in this. So I'm going to stop and say that's kind of the student proof that I'm seeing that if we think about this pedagogically as this place to level set kids, it's different than a kid just using Gemini or using ChatGPT, which is what a lot of people are thinking about. So I'm going to come back now. I'm going to take this off the screen. And this is what I saw with Andrew. And you can put yours on the screen, Andrew, if you want, or I can run it. But this is what I saw when Andrew showed me some of the things. So first, we level set, right? We could do that anyway. But now we're going to look at how can the student learn to level set for themselves? And that's foundational.
Absolutely. So I put it on the screen. I think, there it goes. There it goes. Yeah. So this is kind of one of the things that I showed Holly when we're talking about, this level setting, this students having more agency over their own learning, is this new launch that we have at Magic School called Magic Quizzes. Basically, it's designed to quickly create formative assessments that your students can take within Magic School. But this right here, this is the after results, right? After a quiz has been taken. This one was taken by me and myself twice, and I didn't do a very good But what you'll see, like, this is just kind of that after the students have taken the quiz, your dashboard that gives you some quick key misconceptions that your class had overall, which is really neat to look at. But I really like, though, is these next steps that now are created for you. So it'll create for you as the teacher, a student room that you can send your students to that already has the chatbot built for you based on those misconceptions. So it's a tutor bot ready to go so your students can jump in. It creates for you a lesson plan as like a follow-up, and then it'll create for you another resource. Sometimes it'll make a lesson plan or like a worksheet, or maybe it'll make a like this one's just the common misconceptions. So that way you as the teacher can go back and look and train yourself for a reteach. But what we really want to talk about is what the students can do with this. So when a student takes the quiz, what's different about these types of quizzes is it basically is giving them feedback as they take the quiz. So for me, especially talking about science notebooks, I was a science teacher for a long time. We did interactive notebooks with our iPads. And so what's really great is when the students are taking the quiz, they're getting feedback on every question. So it's really not designed to be a graded quiz. It's designed to be formative. So they're learning as they go. So they get feedback on each question. This is just an example of 2 questions that I answered. You can see here, I got this one correct, just gave me some positive feedback. And then here, when I got it wrong, it gave me a little bit of information on what I may have missed. But at the end, you get a full kind of readout on what to focus on next. Now, this one's not as detailed because it's only 2 questions. But what you can do with this, with those interactive notebooks, right? So let's say you're a student, you're taking this as your pre-assessment before this unit begins. I could then take this as a student. I could screenshot this or copy and paste this into my interactive journal, right? As kind of like a setting point for, okay, this is where I need to build my my goals off of, my learning goals moving into the unit. But what we can also do in Magic School, which is really exciting, is you could take this same information here, all right? And I'm just going to copy this for now. And we can go into student tools.
That means the student gets to make these.
Yeah. So the student tools, these are all the tools that the students would be able to use if you launch them to the students. So I'm going to send my students the student chatbot builder, which basically allows them to build their own custom tool that they can use, obviously with educational parameters in place. So here for the student, this is what they would see. So if I just leave it open-ended, you can see here on the teacher side, if I want to customize it ahead of time, I could put some additional guidelines in there if I need to, but for this one, I'm going to leave it open so the student can build it themselves. So here on the start preview, so this is just an open-ended tool. It basically is going to walk the students through the steps of building out this chatbot. But if I want to build this to be a tutor bot, I could say, you to help me with these conceptions. And I can paste those in here. And then it's going to continue to help me flesh this out as the student. So it says, okay, great. So you want me to be a helpful tutor. What should your chatbot help someone do? So if I say, I want you to help me study this, learn, maybe I need to practice and study. We'll see what it gives me there. It's going to go through a few steps. And then once it's done, you can begin, it will begin interacting with you in the way that you had planned it to. You can upload files here as well. But what's great is then the student has that ownership over, they've created this experience. Maybe they're a student who loves gamification and they want to turn this study into a choose your own adventure, or they want to turn this into a 21 questions of some kind, or some kind of interactive scenario-based game. They could do that as well by just talking to the chatbot and building it out with the chatbot until it's ready to go. So that's kind of a neat new feature that we have at Magic School called Magic Quizzes. Go back here. And one thing I do want to mention too, because Holly, you were stamping this home. I think it's really important. The ability to see, right, what the students are saying, that kind of is across the board on any student tool or experience in Magic School. So you can click on the student's name, see their entire threads, get flagged for anything off topic or anything that is inappropriate. So I just want to make sure to hammer that home as well, that is always available. So, but that's Magic Quizzes. That's kind of one of those new features that I think is going to be really, really powerful in classrooms, whether it be as a pre-assessment or an exit ticket. I think it could be fantastic.
And keep going.
Oh yeah. So I do. Can I go a little personal for a second?
Yep.
Okay. So so a lot of this, hits home hard with me because my son, my fifth grader, he is dyslexic, and it's been a struggle in school, just trying to get him the support that he needs. His teachers have been incredible. We've had, the whole support team at the school has been really open and listening to ideas that my wife and I both have. We were both former teachers as well. But one thing that we implemented this year is we tried to start using Magic School with him at home first. And then we introduced it to his teachers to use the specific tools. They already knew what Magic School was, but they hadn't been using these certain tools with the kids. So at home, Weston one day, and this is when it clicked for me, because I for some reason I never connected. Andrew, you're a dad, you could be using this with your own kids at home when I'm constantly teaching everybody else about it. So I finally sat down with him. He brought home this giant packet. It was this review packet for a big assessment coming up in social studies. And, to a student with dyslexia, like bringing home this massive 4 or 5 page document to study was like torture. And bless her, I think this teacher is first year teacher or whatever. And she's doing great. But so I took that document and we set up a chat bot. I took pictures of every page and we just set up a quick custom chat bot where I asked it to, help my son study this information in this review. But I gave it specific instructions around dyslexia and what he might need. So I asked it to always respond in short paragraphs, simplify the text, give him bullet points whenever possible, very simple sentence structure. Because if he went in just to like the natural chat of how the Magic School chatbot was set up, it would be too much text for him. So I wanted to give it clear instructions to do that. So anyways, we started using that at home, and he loved it. He loved being able to study in that way. It was more exciting for him. He would constantly like change the theme on his own to Minecraft. So even though it was a stretch sometimes tying in some of the social studies concepts to Minecraft, but it still made a way to AI finds a way sometimes. And so anyways, he was he learned to study that way and kind of and take ownership there. And what was great was every time he would bring home a new review or something they needed to study, that was something that he would go with me and set up with me, which was really neat to kind of sit down with him and walk him through it. So fast forward, because he was doing that with me at home, he was pushing at school to use it in writing, because writing is definitely his biggest struggle.
I'll put that back on when you need it.
Oh, you're fine. I'll show what I made for him as well. And so with writing, one of the struggles was that my wife and I both noticed is he was kind of trying to abandon his handwriting because he was given, the ability to use text to speech in class. And so he was using it. I mean, he was using it for everything. And we really wanted him to continue writing. So we built for him, his teacher and I built for him a writing coach in Magic School that's designed for a student with dyslexia. So again, in the instructions, we added those parameters to make sure that it acted in a certain way to give him, text delivered in a certain way. But what it does is it prompts him when it starts, it asks him to upload a picture of his handwriting first. So it actually will say, hey, and now his version is a little more personalized than the one I'll show you. His version will say, hey, Weston, because it knows him. And it says, please upload your handwriting first. And then it will transcribe it for him on the screen with all the misspellings exactly as it's seen. And then it will walk him through all those misspellings. It'll walk him through word by word, asking him, okay, what did you mean by this word? And it'll have the misspelling and it will give him some options. It'll say, did you mean, accountable? Did you mean, something depending on how the word looked. And so he could go through word by word. But what was the most powerful and that we've seen is when he's using this tool, what we didn't expect was that he was going to improve his handwriting, because what he learned was every time he had to upload it, the handwriting if it wasn't good enough, he was having to go through and help the AI decipher all these different words. And now when he takes his time, it actually can pull out all of his words, and it goes a lot faster for him. So anyways, it's just been a really neat thing to watch. And so the way the tool works, and if you want to pull my screen back up, Holly, I can show them what it looks like real quick. So let's see. Oh, let me show this one instead. There we go. So here, what I did is I made him, this is just kind of example room. Let me go to preview as a student. See if this, so this is what it would look like on his end in a student room. So I'd given him 2 different tools in this student room. So if you have never used a student room, basically, you can populate it with as many tools as you want, custom tools or the ones that we've already created. And so he can go to his writing sidekick. I'll show you kind of what this looks like. So from here, so it says, take a picture of your writing and upload it. We'll look at it together. So I can upload. Let's see if I can upload here. Go to my desktop. Showing all my stuff here. There we go. Okay, so here I'm dropping in his writing. Now I want you to see actually what his writing looks like. So let me go let me see if I can do this.
And while you're doing that, I'm going to say Charity's question.
Oh, yeah.
What do you mean by this word? And I'm thinking it didn't understand the words the way your son wrote them. And so then he had to go change the word. I think that's it. Is that what you're asking, Charity?
Here, let me pull this over here.
And Jenny Long has joined us as well.
Jenny, let me show here. Let me see if I can do this real quick. I'm going to stop sharing for a second because I want to show you his writing.
And I want to say while you get that writing up, kids with dyslexia often have dysgraphia. I do as well, but I don't have it as bad as my auditory processing. But it takes me a long time to write, and so I tend not to want to write.
Yeah. So I don't know are you able to share the image that I just popped up?
Yeah,
there?
I'm sorry about that.
Very fine. So this is okay. So this was we do. With him a few times a week. We have him do a quick write when he gets not right when he gets home. We let him unwind a little bit, but for homework, we'll do like a quick write. So he'll come in my office and just to kind of get him practicing handwriting. And so this was one he wrote for me and he gave me permission to share, by the way, because I was like, hey buddy, are you cool with this? And he's like, yeah. He's like, I think he said, I'm way better than that now. So it's no big deal or whatever. So this is what I'm going to upload. I just wanted you to see, I'm going to upload this one to that chat bot. All right. So I'm going to go ahead. You can pull that one down and then I'm going to go back to my screen here.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, you're fine. Okay. So here's the writing coach. So the writing sidekick. So I have it uploaded. Let that get up there.
There, you have a lot of You're good, Andrew. You've got 2 things going.
I know all the things. Okay. So if I upload that here, then it's trying to transcribe it. Let's see. Writing is what I read. So it tried to take it. And so now it's going through. It says, I see one word. There's a bit unclear, shill. And so it's going to kind of walk him through as he goes through each line, like what he believes that means. So like I would have to go through. This one did a better job of transcribing than last time, which is actually pretty impressive. So let's see. So I'm going to say, so if I say, I don't know what that word is. Oh, I spelled no wrong. So figure it out together. Look at the line. I came back home with a few. Shill was like Homer. Does that sentence make sense to you? What were you trying to say there? And you can see it's chunking things, right? Because I asked it to chunk it this way rather than give me full giant paragraphs. And so Weston could go back and forth with it, trying to figure out these words. And once the words are all figured out, it'll rewrite it with just as he's left it with his words spelled correctly. And then it takes him through the editing and revising process where it'll walk him through like, what could we add here to, add more detail or things like that. It's really, really, really neat to watch him kind of go through it. And he loves it. He thinks it's because of, with dyslexia, there can come embarrassment. And he doesn't like to call the teacher over to his desk. He doesn't want to ask questions. He wants, this helps him to accomplish what he needs to in class without feeling that way. And, with an AI chatbot like this, where students can ask it the same question 20 times and it's going to answer. It doesn't get tired. where, obviously if a student came and asked me the same question 4 times, I'd be like, okay, it can be tough. But there's no fear and there's no judgment here, right? When trying to get help. And I think that's a big part of it. So yeah, that's my little chatbot that I built for him. Let me go ahead.
And do you do it with anything else?
As far as, say it again.
I love you controlling the things.
I'm sorry.
It's the best. Do you do it with anything besides writing? I think your first example was social studies, right?
Yeah.
Yep, so, and now is he, I have 2 questions. Are you doing it with anything else? And then is he now taking ownership of it and doing it himself?
Yeah. So we've only needed to do it mostly with writing and anything that's heavy reading. So like he'll drop it in sometimes and just ask it to simplify the text. And that's where I'll say he has probably the most agency over what he's doing is he'll just go in and use the text leveling he'll say, can you explain this to me another way? Can you explain this with, like I said, Minecraft is a big thing. He's learned some questions that he knows he can ask it to kind of get what he needs out of it. But that's through practice, right? Like he's learned how to actually be able to converse. And what was the second part of your question? I'm so sorry. You said other areas, and then how is he using it?
Well, he's coming up with it himself, and that's what you answered. And that's where I see the difference right now with Magic School and other chatbot tools is the student agency portion where he can think to do that and then build that chatbot. That's just not available, I'm pretty sure for sure in the other ones. So that's a game changer for me personally. And then I just want to put this on there. Charity, who's very good at what she does. So that I like to put her stuff up, but she created a chat bot to teach grade 8, because she's in Canada, kids how to craft prompts. It was an escape room and they had to craft the perfect prompt in order to get through the clues and break out, which is really great. I liked when you said that your son differentiated. Does he ever do it around directions? Like if a direction packet's too much? Because that was always my problem.
Definitely. Yeah. And what's great is like his teacher, like I've kind of worked with her a bit on what she's able to do in there as well. But she's, she'll send out like their digital notes for class, or whether it be, like an instructions for a project. And then he can drop that into really any of the chatbots. Really, he can upload that in and ask it to simplify it, explain it to him in a certain way. Any of those things for sure. And then other students, could use a similar, they could translate it if they need to, right? If they're a newcomer and they need all the information translated. That was, talking back to when I was a digital learning coach, the most powerful, probably the first moment that I saw that AI was going to be huge it was very early on. I had I had 3 students who had just moved from Japan in a 3rd grade classroom, and I was a digital learning coach. So I was in there to support them with they were given iPads and Google Translate, and it was not fast enough, right? It was frustrating for them. They couldn't keep up. So I made them a student room and this was early student room. This was like Magic School just launched student rooms. And I made them one that was just simply the translator, right? And they could turn on even the text to speech and capture their teacher's voice, and it would, be translating it to Japanese. And those 3 kids, I kid you not, this was probably, I think it was like February or something. It was around when they launched Magic Student. And the teacher was like, I've never seen them light up like this, like except for at recess, right? Just seeing their language on the screen that quickly, that's just one small piece. But when I saw that, I was like, this is going to change everything.
So can I ask you a question? This is one we didn't talk about. One thing that I've done in a different program is I've had the answers come in both languages, we'll say Japanese and English, so that they're comprehending in their own language, but they're getting the target. Can you program it to do that as well?
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. So we actually built in Frisco, when I was in Frisco, we built a newcomer student room we had a chatbot in there that was like welcome to class chatbot. That was a back and forth, that it was predominantly in their home language, and then it would teach them words in English, like through conversation. It was really awesome. At the time, the only limitation was, we obviously visuals was really important. So we had to partner with my language coach to have visuals to go with it, but it worked. It was still super awesome, super powerful.
So one of the things that you said as we kind of end a little bit, but we don't have to end at this second, but that you said that's really interesting to me is that I've had kids whose parents I know, and they have dyslexia. So they're always asking me questions. And I say, like, well, they have magic school or they have whatever. They're not using it. And then one of the parents went back and asked in an IEP, like you have, and in fact, it was magic school on this one. And the principal said, we have it, but we're not really using it on the student side. And so I don't think, sadly, that a lot of teachers recognize yet that they have this tool that can help students, but that also students can learn to build their own. So I don't know how the information gets out there for that, but that's really important to me because of being dyslexic. And honestly, the things that stopped me as a learner because I had dyslexia were just my spelling. That can be fixed in a chatbot. And I read slow, and that can be fixed with audio versions of things. And so basically I don't have a disability at all. I have a difference, and that dyslexia gave me the ability to think in patterns and think in certain ways that I don't see other neurotypical people able to do. And so I see dyslexia for me now as an adult as a superpower. And
we tell Weston the same thing. Weston the same thing.
I even wrote a post today on LinkedIn and said, I feel so lucky that I have this neurodivergence because I listen to conversations where people are saying things that I'm like, you haven't moved past that yet? Because my mind is 5 steps ahead of that because I can see the patterns and whatever. So it is really a superpower. And Andrew, last weekend, I don't know, time goes by fast. I think last weekend I won an award with for my learning differences. But I want to tell you that the people who won this award with me, it was a wall for some people who've been winning it for some time now. Cher, Tom Cruise, James Earl Jones, Gavin Newsom, and everywhere I looked on this wall were just people who are great minds who have dyslexia. But the person I won it with, there were 2 men, but one was the chief global officer at OpenAI. And both of these men described that the reason they are where they are. And this man also worked in the White House. He worked on cryptocurrency, which is something that is hard to understand. And he worked at and was one of the founding people at Airbnb, all of the things you want to be in life. And he said that he got to that place because of exactly what I described, that he can think differently than a neurotypical person. And it just always gave him an advantage. And he said the same thing I did. I read slow. Who cares anymore? Yeah, I can't spell. No one even knows. Yeah. And so, so it's fun to hear other people at that level of success be like, yeah, I don't view this as it's a difference. It's certainly not a disability, but it feels like it when you're in school. It really does. And we did talk about that. But once you graduate, you're like, this is the best thing ever. So
yeah. Oh yeah. And I don't mean to turn this into a chat about my son Weston the whole time, but I will say it's his communication skills and his ability to memorize are unmatched. It's almost supernatural. So we didn't know he had dyslexia because through 2nd grade, every time he brought home a guided reading book, he would read it word for word, literally didn't miss a word. And we came to find out that he was memorizing it word for word when his teacher read the book with him for the first time. And so when he came home to read it with us, he was just memorizing it every single page, and we were shocked. And so we finally noticed, wait, his eyes are just on the picture the whole time. He's not even reading the words. So yeah,
that's some of the stuff I did early on. And for a long time, probably till my 30s, I had there's a word for it, for the kind of memorization I had. Like, I just needed to see a page. I could tell you what was on that page. And those are the kinds of things that are going to come in later that are going to change. It changed now that I'm old. But I think it's called photographic memory or something. I could look at something like that or hear it. But here's the thing that always got in the way for me is that my teacher would do these jigsaw readings, right? And she would be like, you're going to go and you're going to go. And then she would like say 3 people. And if I were the third person, I'd be reading my paragraph the whole time. And I think we all did that, but dyslexics do it to a different level, because I didn't want people to see how slow I read. And so often that would translate into comprehension problems that I really didn't have. I don't really have any comprehension problems at the end of the day. But what would happen is anytime something had to be read aloud, it would translate into that. So there's like a lot of things happening with dyslexia but it's all going to be for the best. Someday he'll be winning an award with the guy who's making the decisions right now about what's happening in certain, like he was leaving from winning the award to go talk to the president about AI in Iran. And I'm like, yeah. And I taught 8th grade, because, but anyway, anything else you want to say about, and honestly, I also have, most people do when they have another neurodivergence. I have ADHD, which stops my communication skills sometimes because I'm ahead in my words.
No, you're fine. I think the only thing I'll say is, I definitely recommend, if anyone watching hasn't been in Magic Student in a while and seen what Magic Student has, what we've built in there, a lot of updates, a lot that, I showed you, Holly, a couple weeks ago. Definitely recommend you go check it out and jump back in and see what's there. Because there's so many opportunities for us to reach every student where they're at. So,
and I want to say this as we end. With this Magic Student, with the ability to make their own chatbots and things like that, one of the things that we need to realize is that they say it's probably closer to 30% of kids, maybe not, there's different types of dyslexia, but you've definitely got dyslexic kids in your class. You probably have 30 to 40% of neurodivergent learners. And here's this tool that can help them. And now I hear all of this talk about, we're going to take technology out of schools. I don't think anyone on this call is like into that talking point. But if you take technology out of schools, then what happens to your son? What happens to the kid socioeconomic wise who doesn't have technology at home to do the things you just talked about? And so this is a very deadly argument, in my opinion. I don't know if deadly is the right word, but it can be crucial and really hurt kids. So LA Unified just took out technology from their K and 1, and then limited screen time of 2-5. And all I can think is that there are 500,000 students in that school system, and 200,000 of them, that's a huge number, have ESL or a neurodivergency. At the minimum, 200,000. That's 200,000 kids who are going to be left behind because someone is not understanding the way that this can help kids like your son and me. So if we have teachers in here who are great at what they do, so they really don't need us much, but remembering to those messages for the teachers who teach dyslexic kids, like they've got this magical tool that can help. So anyway, check those out. If you're a person who hasn't been using Magic School, they have a free version that you can see how all of this works. Is there anything in here that wouldn't work for them in the free version?
Everything we showed is free. Yeah, there will be, come the fall, there'll be some limitations as far as like the number of quizzes you can make, for example, that I showed, but everything will be accessible for the free version that I showed. Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing with us today. I get a little passionate, and sorry, I keep going a little bit too much about dyslexia, but I want people to share that message with their dyslexic kids and students that this will be a superpower one day.
Absolutely. Okay. Thanks for having me. Definitely, we got to do it again for sure.
Okay, thanks.